G'day viewers, doing something a bit different today, talking with a friend about the topic of bullying. And there's a lot of anti-bullying campaigns. The slogan, "It gets better," is very popular. Can seem like a bit of a platitude at the moment if you're going through something bad and you don't see it getting better. But my friend, who's going to be anonymous for this purpose, went through some quite severe bullying with quite severe repercussions and did come through. So we thought, if we share this story, if you're in a situation that right at the moment doesn't feel like it's going to get better, by hearing a story from someone for whom it did get better, might give you that just extra bit of strength to keep on going. So where do you want to start the story?
Well, we'd have to do a little back trail just to when I was born.
Okay.
Yes. No, not that far, but I have to explain that when I was born with a birth defect on my left leg. Unfortunately, because of that, my left leg was a lot smaller and the muscle mass is quite a lot different to my right, which I was fine with, my parents were fine with, absolutely fine. Fast forward to about grade 4. I've come down from Queensland to Melbourne and I've started school again. Only problem is I'm very short at the time, and now I'm about 6'3", bit of a difference. At that time I was the shortest kid in my class. I also was the new kid and had a weird leg. Because of that, I was the instant target for a lot of name calling, which looking back is quite common among children. They see something strange out of the ordinary, they're going to poke fun of it. Unfortunately, because of that, I started getting hassled. This is the first time I've ever seen anger or aggression from anyone or anything in my entire life.
Yeah, you can pause whenever you want.
Sorry, just trying to...
Yeah, no. Don't be worried about pauses at any time.
Just
because
cuts.
yeah, we can edit.
Sorry, just trying to... Okay. Over about the span of the first 6 months, it was just name calling, just the normal things, so Bigfoot, hey Gimpy, Littlefoot, just the common schoolyard names and things like that. Wasn't until about halfway through the year where it was a sports carnival. I didn't have any friends because of the fact that people knew that I was being bullied. And because of that, they didn't want to be bullied, which is fair enough if you think about it. Unfortunately, because of this, at this sports day, I was alone. Because of which, no one wishes to stand near me, obvious reasons. The 4 boys who were bullying me this past year, the past 6 months, they approached me, started name calling me, the usual, and I was just ignoring it. That's when the first punch happened. I got punched in the stomach, basically fell to the ground in pain, starting getting kicked and punched while on the ground. At that point, one of them has pulled out a bottle of deodorant, has sprayed me directly in the eyes. I've started screaming and crying. A teacher has run over to see if I'm okay. The boys who have done that are about 5 feet away. The teacher's asking, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I've basically in tears trying to explain I've been sprayed in the eyes with deodorant. So she grabbed the nearest boys to take me to the bathrooms and help me wash out my eyes. Unfortunately for her, she chose the boys that have just done this to me. And so she walked with them to the bathrooms, they went in, as soon as she's gone, they've thrown me to the ground, started kicking me again. I was dragged into a cubicle, kicked and punched and urinated on. I was there for about 20 minutes. No one knew I was missing. And that was about it. I was on the ground in tears, basically covered in urine, mine and theirs. Unfortunately, that was the start of the bashings. Only one occasion like this happened during that year. The next year, the same sort of thing happened during lunchtime. I'd gotten used to the fact that I was being bullied. I was getting punched every day, kicked, my lunch was being stolen, thrown on the ground. Anything I brought to school went missing. Had to explain to my mother that I lost it. Near the end of grade 4, I snuck out at lunchtime. There's a park about 10-minute walk from my primary school. I went to that park with a pair of scissors and tried to kill myself. Luckily, I was stopped. I have no idea who he is, and if they do end up watching this, I want to say thank you to them. Someone in late high school year stopped me, threw me to the ground, and asked what the hell am I doing, which I didn't know. I was in tears, and he basically held me and said, "Promise me something. If you promise not to ever do this again, I won't tell anyone you were ever here. Head back to school right now, and this is all forgotten." And that was it. That was the only time I've ever wanted to kill myself. That being said, over the span of my primary school and high school years, the thought has come up, but it's always reminded me of that one experience. The name calling and bullying kept going on after that. I just kept ignoring it. I started not talking to anyone. My parents decided to send me to a child psychologist because I was no longer talking or communicating with them. Unfortunately, that wasn't the smartest idea, for the main fact that if I was not going to speak to a teacher or my parents, why would I speak to a random stranger in a small room? The school itself, they tried to help. By try to help, I mean they gathered up the people that I'd reported bullying me once or twice, and then put us in a special group, which we'd spend half the day together working together. So in our normal school work, we'd be in a separate room together, which was great because just the people I wanted to be with were the people I'm trying to get away from. I started ignoring it and stopped reported being bullied, for the main fact that every time I reported it, the teachers would tell them off. The next day, they'd beat me up because I told them. It didn't take too long for me to realise the pattern. The bullying itself went on from grade 4 to grade 6. At the end of grade 6, I was heading to high school, and I was hoping that maybe everything's going to be different. At that time, I worked out that I liked guys, so I am gay. I had one friend coming into high school, someone that I trusted. Turns out I shouldn't. I told that one friend that I was gay within the first week of high school, and she went and told everyone in the school, including the guys that had beaten me up in primary school. So, normal bullying goes on, unfortunately, in grade 7. Name calling, basically now the new ones, which are gay, faggot, and a mixture of the things about my leg and things like that. And then it stops. It stops for about 2 weeks. Nothing. No one says anything. So in my head, everything's looking up, because all the bullying stopped, all name calling has stopped. But little did I know, the fact that the year 8s had approached the boys that were bullying me and said, "Stop bullying him, you'll get in trouble, but we can get away with it." So instead of having boys my own age bullying me and teasing me, I started having boys older than me start punching me in the gut, in the back, kicking me, calling me a faggot, and all of that kind of all those things. Unfortunately, it only gets worse from this point on, to the fact that I've almost become completely mute. I barely spoke in class. My grades were looking horrible because I was spending most of my time trying to work out how to get away or run away from people. It got to the point where every Friday, my school ended at 3 o'clock every Friday, or every day, sorry. And it got to the point that every time I came outside, they were waiting outside for me. Every day like clockwork. Now I had two options. I could either accept the fact that... three options. I could either accept the fact that I'm going to get beaten up and go out there and take it. I can try and leave class early and get away, or I can wait an extra 2 hours inside school until it closes and hope that they've gotten bored and gone home. Unfortunately, at this point, I know it's a horrible habit, but I started smoking in grade 7 for the main fact that it made me lightheaded, made me dizzy, and I could barely feel my body. It sounds weird now because it was just a small thing that stopped me from feeling, which made the beatings a lot nicer. It didn't just go from schoolyard beatings and then that was it. Some points they'd follow me home, find me in a back alleyway, beat me up, kick me. One point in time I had to walk home naked because they'd beaten me up, stripped me of all my clothes and thrown them over a fence. So this went on for an entire year. At the end of that year, the year 8s went to the senior campus. My class was a group of misfits. So some of the boys who had previously bullied me were in that class, which out of all the people who've done things to me, I forgave. For the main fact that the main reason they were bullying me was because their life at home was horrible, which is no excuse, but at the time I was happy to have anything on my side. In year 8, our class, because we were the misfits, no teachers wanted to teach us. We became a small family, and they were the closest people I've had to friends my entire life. The bullying still went on, the beatings and everything like that. The year 8 would finish earlier than the junior campus and come down and make sure to meet me on the way home, which is always a nice thing. But it got to the point where I couldn't hold it in. I was very angry and very annoyed at my parents all the time, which they didn't like for obvious reasons. I wasn't a very violent person. I didn't know how to show it. I just bottled everything up. At one point later on in the year, I ended up having 2 friends. Best thing in the world. We were riding home one point. A group of boys were on the side of the road. They were throwing rocks at cars going past. They spotted me. Started piffing rocks at me and my friends. I told them to ride on because this was my street. I needed to turn down to go home. I waited for him to go around the corner until one rock hit me straight in the side of the head. All I can remember is getting off my bike. Luckily for my fact that a IT guy who worked at the school saw everything happen, and his description of the whole experience was he saw me get off my bike, run as fast as I can and spear tackle a guy on the opposite side of the road. I have no knowledge of this, because now knowing what I can do is, well, not can do, but I can get so angry my mind will just turn off and my body will keep moving. It's not a nice thing, but it's unfortunately something that it just happens, because if I get too angry and don't let everything out. Near the end of that year, we had a sports carnival. Same place as I had in primary school, which I didn't want to go to because of bad memories. At this point, I got really sick of bullies. I wanted to beat them up. I wanted to kill them. It got to that point. I never want to feel like that ever again. At this point, I saw another kid, year 7, getting beaten up by year 12. So I did the first thing that came to my mind, get the attention off him and get his attention on me. Fortunately, he knows about me, in the sense that he's punched me in the face, grabbed me by the throat, and pressed me against a wall. And then basically threatened to kill me because I was a dirty faggot. At the end of this year, I had gotten sick of the school. My parents had found out I was being bullied, but still to this day have no idea the extent. They decided to make me change schools, which I was okay with. Only problem is they sent me into an all-boys private school, which, if you can think, isn't the most homosexual friendly place. Amazingly, the bullying in my senior years was a lot less than in public school. It was still bad though. Every school will have bullying, and unfortunately it can't, like, as much as people like to say it gets better, it will, but unfortunately most of the time it will get worse first. That's right.
Yep, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. This is. I'm really glad you're doing this, but this is, you're going to have to tell people up front, you're going to have to be in for the long haul with this. This won't be a pleasant experience, but there are positives that can come out of it.
You can see what I mean by it's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah. Most definitely.
Just trying to think about what I'm going to say next.
Yeah, no, take your time. It's no drama.
Alright.
Yeah?
Yep.
Alright, when you're ready.
Alright. During my senior year at high school, bullying would go around just because that's how school works. It wasn't as bad, not as many beatings, things like that. There were still a couple, which I stayed quiet about most of all. I also fought back a lot, because at this point, I was a lot bigger. At this point, I was about 6'2", about a foot, just about as tall as I am currently. So I was no longer the small kid who was getting bullied a lot. I was a kid who was standing up for people who were being bullied, which isn't always a good thing, unfortunately, because that will bring the attention back to you, which at this point in time I was okay with, because I never wanted anyone to go through what I had to go through myself. Not much happened during 10 and 11, just because a lot of the people I had made friendships with had my back. It wasn't until year 12 where a lot of the school finally worked out that I was gay, that a very good friend of mine told me that I needed to head to the bathrooms near the canteen and have a look in the third cubicle. As I went in there, I noticed on the walls, in big black letters, my name, my phone number, and the Andrew Moore.
Don't worry.
Yep.
Yeah.
And my name, including... Sorry, I'll do that part again.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
I went into the cubicle and in big black letters, my name, my phone number, and a sentence saying that I am a dirty faggot. I straight away drew over my phone number because I didn't want that being there. I went straight to the vice principal and explained I wanted it to be removed because this was bullying in an extreme sense, which they said yes, we'll have it removed during the holidays because this was the second last day of school so we had one term left, so this was term 3. So they let me know that it'll be removed over the holidays. After I come back to school, I go to that bathroom, it's still there. I head back there again, it's still there, I want to get it removed right now. Oh yeah, we'll get it removed. 3 weeks later, still there. So I go to the head of students, who's also head of drama, who I was very good friends with. I told him the story. He got his mobile and called the owner of the land and the groundskeeper. He got the permission from the grounds owner and got the groundskeeper to get an angle grinder, go to the bathrooms and just sand out the wall. Unfortunately, because of that, a lot of bad things obviously happen and schools try and cover up. A year after I left year 12, I went back to my first high school with the ambition of I wanted to get my reports and have a look at all the times I reported being bullied and what they did for it, because I did it a number of times, just so I could have everything written down, because one day I wanted to write something about it. I went to that school, spoke to the principal, different man. The old principal would have left 2 years after I left school. I got asked multiple times, are you sure you went to this school? And I explained, yes, I've still got the uniform, I've still got the reports, I've got school photos. That's strange because we can't find you on our server. With most schools, you have to keep files for 6 to 7 years. Mine was missing. To the extent that the principal was in a panic because I explained everything that I have so far that happened at that school, and he was trying his hardest to try and fix it, which, in all honesty, I'm very thankful for. He was kind enough to give me his personal mobile number so he can keep in contact and let me know if he finds anything. He never did. He went the extra step, which you're not really meant to, but he checked the file of a boy who bullied me, who I know was suspended for it. It said that this boy was suspended for reason blank. In other words, my name was missing off other people's records as well. I got advice from this from a couple of people. They said, take it to a lawyer, have a look at, see what we can do. Which I did. I took it to a couple of local lawyers who said, we can't help you, you need to go to a bigger firm. I ended up having an appointment with a lawyer, and I explained the story, and she said, I'll be right back. She came back half an hour later with 2 other people with her and sat down and said, alright, if you need to take this to court, you're going to need a child lawyer, an adult lawyer, a public school lawyer, and a private school lawyer. I explained how that my name was missing off the school servers, which they explained, even though it's a horrible thing, it's really good in your case. They let me know that about 10-15 years ago, a case a lot less bad, a lot less worse than this happened, which didn't go to court because the schools wanted to pay out as quick as they could. The payout for that was about $500,000, and that was about 10-15 years ago. I explained this to them about my situation, and they said, well, the minimum payout will be about $1 to $2 million. Unfortunately for me, the price to pay for the lawyers and everything else would go up to about $75,000. I didn't have that money, and I couldn't ask my parents for it because they had no idea. They still have no idea about the circumstances that I went through. So I did the next best thing. I let my old schools know that I was planning on doing this, just because I know I couldn't, but it's always good to try and get a scare out of them. Just a tiny little bit of payback is always a bit of fun. I was told by a lot of adults that they're very surprised that I was not on medication. I wasn't a drug addict. When they heard about this, I've told it to 3 of them. I had to tell them when I was over 18, because by law, if you're under 18 and you tell a psychologist, they can contact your parents. So I had to wait. After around the same time that I started seeking out my old schools about bullying and things like that, it was around the same time that I started not feeling sorry for myself. I started taking a stand and basically attacking every action I could. It got to the point that I could see that my life had been horrible growing up, and I knew that I'd seen the worst of it. So in my eyes, there was nowhere to go but up. Because of this, I decided to set out and start doing things that I enjoyed, which got me into theatre. I did 2 years of a university course in backstage work, which was very enjoyable for myself. Since then, because of that course, I've made a lot of friends, which have shown me a lot of fun times in my life. I've made friendships, I've formed relationships, and I currently have one which has lasted for about 2 years, which I'm absolutely loving. But it really comes down to the fact that I was bullied. It was very traumatic, and the horrible thing is the fact that people will say that there is no bullying here, but everywhere there's a bully. I'd be lying if I said I haven't bullied other people. In the same fact that if you laugh at someone for being fat or not looking like how you find attractive, that's technically bullying. And I will sadly admit that I have bullied people to stay away from being bullied myself, which is a horrible thing, which I'm not proud of. But after everything has happened, it does get better, even if it does get worse first. When I was in primary school, when I was in high school, during all this time, the system at school has been updated a lot since I went there. I've made it a small job of mine to go to schools that I haven't been to and ask them about their bullying, about their rules and how they deal with things like that. And even though it didn't work for me, the school system have gotten a lot better and so much better at caring and looking after students. Whereas if you are being bullied in school or out of school, find someone to talk to. If it doesn't have to be a parent, doesn't have to be a friend, if it's just someone that you can connect to. If you are being bullied in school, as much as you think it might not help, let a teacher know. Let someone know. Because the worst thing that I ever did was keep quiet about it. for the main fact that, yes, you can keep quiet about it, but it won't help your situation. The best thing you can do in that situation is let others know, let people help you. No one's alone. Everyone has always felt bad about certain things. And that's the honest truth about it, is that most people who are feeling horrible, who are feeling basically like they're alone in the world, you're not alone. There are plenty of people around you who care about you. You might not know them, but they will care about you.
So with everything you've been through, having someone to talk to one-on-one is the thing that's helped the most from what you've told me?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you can find someone you can talk to that you can relate to, it always brings out a much better feeling in the end.
Yeah.
Because you can let go of everything.
Yeah.
With me, that was the hardest point. Trying to explain emotion. Because of the fact that I never got the chance to. So if you can, I would highly advise it. Find someone to talk to. If not, just write it down. Find an outlet to help you relieve the stress and get your story out there.
Yeah. And we're going to put links to all the professional services, organisations that we can think of, particularly the youth-oriented ones.
Absolutely.
And so I think the biggest thing, and you certainly learned it the hard way, keeping it inside, not the best option.
No, not always the best option at all.
So as hard as it can be, and you went through years of being virtually mute, the day when you're able to talk to someone, whether it's a professional or a friend, just someone you trust, that's the day when you can start feeling like you turn things around.
Absolutely. It could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be a week or a year. It will come, and at that point you can definitely see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Right, well, that's been some heavy going. I hope people have stayed with us. I hope you get something positive, because the entire purpose was to talk about the positive outcome, and we had to go through the murky stuff to get to the positive outcome. So we're going to leave it there. I think we'll hug manfully when we switch this off. And we hope, if you're feeling anything like this or going through this sort of experience, you reach out to someone and get some support.